when you're at the top of the food chain, as we know many greats to be, from Ali, from Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones Jr., the list goes on and on. Canelo Alvarez is no different. When you're at the top, you're a target. You have a big target on your back. People will find a way, a reason to say that you don't deserve to be there. You haven't accomplished much, and you are not the best. And that's the narrative in some circles in the boxing world, some small media outlets, and some fight fans, because a lot of fight fans, and I'm talking about casual fight fans, which I love and appreciate because they do make big fights happen, right, in terms of numbers. Now, a lot of those people, because they're not familiar with certain names, because he's not fighting popular fighters, they're not, they're not aware of how good some of these fighters are and the process that takes place in boxing, like mandatories, like networks, like promoters making deals, like money being involved. This is a business. It has to make sense for everybody across the board. So a lot of times, a fighter like Canelo Alvarez has a list and wants to fight the top level guys, but it's not as simple. It's not that black and white. It's not like, okay, I'm going to fight him next and it's just going to happen. A lot of fighters, potential Canelo opponents, I don't want to say that they all do, but some guys kind of price themselves out. Not that they don't want the Canelo fight, but when you're asking for a certain number because I'm fighting Canelo Alvarez, I need a certain amount of money. Sometimes that prevents from fights happening. So don't always blame it on Canelo Alvarez because sometimes it's the other side. A lot of folks been talking about Caleb Plant. Remember, a fight was offered to him last year. He turned it down because he didn't have enough time.
Canelo has beat 16 champs. Literally 16 champs who either they were current champs, former champs, or they became champs. Like Miguel Vasquez. Now, mind you, somebody like Timothy Bradley who's saying that, Canelo's picking easy fights after his second fight with Triple G, your resume can't compare to Canelo's. Now, and you're a Hall of Famer. Timothy Bradley is a Hall of Famer. He's a great fighter, but that resume that that Canelo has, is far surpassed everybody else except Manny Pacquiao. Understand something as well. Canelo has fought since he was 15 years old. His 10th or 11th fight was like a 10-rounder. He fought 12 rounders rather quickly. His third fight was the same guy you fought, Miguel Vasquez, and he also fought him again, like maybe a year after you fought him. And I'm talking to Timothy Bradley Jr. I think you know what it is. I think with Canelo, and I'm not talking about Timothy Bradley concerning this. I think that when you have rivals, then there's going to be a lot of negative talk about you. Sometimes rivals respect their rivals or their potential rivals, but I understand that negative press is always louder than praise. And the reason why Canelo probably gets so much is because, not just because he's great, because Michael Jordan got a whole lot, all of the greats get a lot, but it's because he's in 3 different weight divisions. So that's so many more boxers than anybody else that can actually talk about it. And that means when you go to Bival and you see an interview, they'll ask him about Canelo. If you go to Caleb Plant in 168 division, they'll ask him about Canelo. If you speak to Jamal Charlo, reporters will ask about Canelo. So there's so much room and opportunity for people to speak negatively about his career, about his opponents, because they want the fight, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the interesting thing about the people that don't appreciate what Canelo has done in the sport and aren't huge fans, right? When you look at the fighters that people say he doesn't want to fight or hasn't fought, right? Think about if any of them fighting each other. I'll give you one example. Lara. He's a guy that wanted to fight everybody. Wanted to fight Triple G. He wanted to fight the top guys. He was fighting at 154. He would have went up to 160, fight anybody, right? Mm-hmm. None of these junior middleweights or middleweights, including the Charlo brothers, both of them, Demetrius Andrade, Triple G, guys that he has called out. None of them have faced Lara. Canelo faced Lara, beat Lara, right? When you talk, moving on to Triple G, he fought him twice. People question the first fight, fought him again. Now, what other middleweight has faced Triple G? Whether they wanted to fight him or not. I'm talking Demetrius Andrade. I'm talking about Jamal Charlo. I'm talking about the other guys, right, that supposedly Canelo doesn't want to fight. He's fighting that guy. Nobody has fought that guy. Now, I'm not even going to mention moving up to 175. I don't care who you fight at 175. I'm not even going to mention that. But name one super middleweight or middleweight that has even uttered those words, I want to move up to light heavyweight. Not one of those guys. And that batch of fighters, none of them are fighting each other. None of them are fighting each other, but Canelo is fighting all of them slowly but surely. So it's very hypocritical when it comes to the fighters and their teams throwing shots at Canelo. The fans, they're not aware. They're not privy to some of the details. But what annoys me, is the fighters and the trainers and some of those camps that throw shots at him, and they, it's like they have tunnel vision towards Canelo, and they're not looking at any other potential opponents.
Yeah, and I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and I think Timothy Bradley always have good opinions. I also think that what he's saying is that, he wants Canelo to fight these particular guys, Charlo, Bivol, Beterbiev. And this is the thing. First of all, I want to say that Canelo's not a 175-pounder. Canelo participated in 6 different divisions, starting at 140 pounds. If you look at the disparity between him and anybody in the 168 division as far as height, they're way taller than him. Now, Canelo fighting at 175, that was one time, it was Kovalev. Kovalev is not a bum. Kovalev has never been a bum, and he's not a bum now. And he was off 2 winning fights. He was off a 2-fight win streak. He avenged the other against Alvarez, and he also beat Yarde from the UK. So it's not like he was a bum. He was a legitimate champion. He went up to 168 and fought the top guy. Callum Smith was the top guy, and to ask him to go up to fight 175 fighters, other 175 fighters, is like to ask Timothy Bradley to fight in a 160-pound division. It's way above where you should be fighting. And he's daring to be great fighting at 168 because in reality, he probably has the frame and the height of a 154-pounder.